three pillars of health system.
Welcome to the Ultimate You podcast. Design your dream lifestyle with Andy Anderson's three pillars of health system. You can achieve anything with the right psychology, nutrition, and body.
Hello and welcome to the Ultimate You podcast. And today I have a very, very special guest, world-renowned human behavior expert, Dr. John Demartini. How are you today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
Awesome. So you're in Australia at the moment. Exciting.
I happen to be in Sydney, Australia right now. I was in Melbourne day before yesterday, and I'm off to Brisbane today.
Excellent. And how are you enjoying our lovely country?
Well, I love it here. I love coming here. I come here 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, we're glad to have you anyway. So, look, just for all the people watching right now, we'd love to hear your story and, what is the Demartini method?
You say my story. How far back do you want to go?
Well, let's just talk a little bit about, how you got passionate about what you do right now and then, what your mission is and what the method is as well.
All right. Well, as a child, I was challenged learning, and I was born with my hand and foot turned in, so I had a bit of a handicap, as they call it. And then I found out in elementary school, when I got into first grade, that I was told I would never be able to read, write, or communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life. And so I made it through elementary school just simply passing by, asking questions, and getting the smartest kids to help me. But when I moved from Houston, Texas to Richmond, Texas, when I was about 12, I didn't have a group of smart kids because we lived in a really low socioeconomic area. And I failed. And I dropped out of school. And I had learning problems. And I was good in sports. So I went up surfing. And Texas wasn't the surf capital. So I surfed a little bit on the Gulf, but I hitchhiked to California. And eventually made my way panhandling, bumming money and stuff to make it to fly to Hawaii. And I started living on the north shore of Oahu. I first lived underneath a bridge, then finally in a park bench, then a park bathroom, and then an abandoned car, and finally a tent in the jungle. And I was surfing every day and doing what teenagers did in those days. And I came close to dying. I ended up with a strychnine cyanide poisoning, and I was about 3.5 days unconscious because of that. Luckily, a lady found me in my tent, or I wouldn't be here, and led me to a little health food store. And that health food store, leaving one day, I saw a little flyer on the door. And I never attended classes, but there was something about this flyer, about a special class, that just drew me. And I attended this class this one night, presented by this elderly man named Paul Bragg. And that one night, in 1 hour, this man's one message touched me, got to me. And I never believed I would ever be intelligent until that night. And that night, when he spoke, he was so inspiring. He was speaking so much to me. He said that we have the capacity to do whatever is in our heart, and that we have to give ourselves permission to do something amazing. And that night I started to believe that maybe I could be intelligent. Maybe I could overcome my learning problems. I was assuming I was going to make surfboards at the time. And that night I had a vision of me traveling the world and being intelligent as a teacher. So I set out on a goal that night to figure out how to overcome my learning problems and learn how to share whatever I would discover. And I studied under this man for 3 weeks, and then flew back to California and hitchhiked back to Texas and started a journey on learning how to read and trying to get back to school. And it was a struggle at first, but I started getting momentum, and then I spent 18 to 20 hours a day learning how to read and learning how to write. And I wanted to share so bad, you have no idea. And so that was 41 years ago. So that was the beginning of my journey about, being a researcher, writer, traveler, and teacher. Today I do that full time, and I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing. I pretty well speak about 400 times a year. And so then I wanted to learn whatever it is that maximized human potential and help people live amazing and inspiring lives. And I gradually, slowly but surely, developed methods to assist people. And the Demartini method is one of the methods that I found to help dissolve pretty well anything that's in the way. So you can see everything on the way and be grateful for life and get inspired and do something extraordinary with your life. So the method is a series of questions that help you see things from a perspective of the hidden order instead of the apparent chaos. So instead of being a victim of your history, it helps you become a master of your destiny.
I love it. I love it. Awesome stuff. So look, obviously you're a human behavior expert. I know values is a massive part of what you do. Can you explain to us, what are values and why are they so why is it so crucial that we understand the power of values?
Well, everybody in life, regardless of race, creed, color, age, or sex, lives by a set of priorities. We call them values, things that you value. And values emerge in the human psyche as a result of perceived voids. So if we perceive we don't have money, we search for money. If we perceive we don't have a relationship, we seek for a relationship. Whatever we perceive is most missing becomes most important. Fulfillment means filling full that void. And so we're attempting to fulfill our lives. And so whatever we value the most is the thing that's most fulfilling. And whenever we set goals and intentions that are congruent and aligned with our highest values, we increase the probability of achievement. We increase the probability of allowing our genius and our great leader inside to come to the surface. So it's crucial to identify what's really, really, really important to you, not what is injected into you from outside sources and authorities and society, but what's the calling within. And accessing that is one of the secrets. I teach a program called the Breakthrough Experience. And every weekend I do what I can to help people identify what that core value and highest value is. Because once you access that, and once you set sail for it, and once you live according to it, your congruency will determine your fluency. And the second you do, you will never need motivation from the outside. I haven't needed motivation for 41 years. I'm inspired from within. If you require motivation, you haven't found it. Because motivation is a symptom, not a solution. And when you're inspired from within, and you have a calling from within to do something extraordinary, and you set sail on that, and you prioritize your life, and you delegate other things, and you get on with what's truly important. The immortal soul guides your life, not the mortal senses. And amazing things, legacies are born out of this. So values are crucial. The study of axiology, the study of values and work, is one of the most significant ologies or disciplines a person can master.
So what sort of changes have you seen in people's lives? You're working with people at your seminars. How quick is the change once they align with their values?
Well, the moment anytime somebody subordinates to outer authority and lives, you might say, trying to be somebody they're not, they got a break on. And they've got an internal resistance instead of assistance. And they cloud the clarity of their vision inside, and they have less energy. They're scattered. They're not focused. But the moment that they get clear and they get concise and they get focused on what's really important, their vitality immediately emerges. Every weekend in the Breakthrough Experience, I watch people get a hold of that. And I get testimonials daily. Dozens daily of people that once they capture that, the stories are amazing. Of people that all of a sudden double their business or triple their business. One guy the other day sent me, he says, I'm 10 times my business in 2 months. Wow. Another one is basically, he says, I never would have imagined I could be a millionaire in my entire life, and I made over $1 million this year. I've had people that said that, I was never feeling worthy of having a man that was wealthy in my life, but now that I'm wealthy, because of what I'm now doing with my own life, I've attracted men that are wealthy all around me. Now I get to pick. I've had people that all of a sudden that had chronic fatigue syndrome that are all of a sudden so inspired they don't have time for fatigue. I can just go on and on with people. I even had a 7-year-old girl that's already now on her second book publishing. Amazing stuff. And I saw a 72-year-old man. I even have a 102-year-old man that says, I'm starting a new business. He's 102. So, I really don't know what the limits of human beings are. I just know that when they tap into what's truly most inspiring to them, magic occurs. Really cool stuff happens.
I love it. I love it. Very inspiring. Well, let's talk more specifically about health and fitness and getting people motivated. Okay, so how can we use our values specifically to help keep us motivated with our health and fitness and achieve an amazing body?
Well, everybody has a unique set of values already. And not everybody has a very high value on fitness and diet and things of this nature. So if they expect themselves to try to do a fitness routine or a health routine when they don't really have a value on it, they're going to frustrate themselves. They're going to need outside motivation and incentives all the time to keep them doing it, which is nothing harmful in that. It still gets a benefit. But it's wise to ask the simple question, how specifically is eating wisely? How specifically is supplementation? How specifically is working out? How specifically is walking and swimming and doing activities? How specific is going to help you fulfill what is important to you? Because if you can't see how that's going to help you, you'll tend to resist it. You'll be too busy with other things. But once you ask the question, how is maintaining fitness and vitality helping you fulfill what is important to you, you increase the probability of doing it. See, nobody gets up in the morning and is engaged in anything other than what's really important to them. When you find out what that is, you don't need motivation. You just love doing it. And so linking whatever it is that is wise, health-wise, to that is what's important if you don't find that that's your highest value. But you can raise the values. If you sit down and stack up big enough reasons why working out. Let me give an example. I had a guy that he just wasn't into physical fitness at all. And then what I did is I said, let's go and he was into business. He just focused on business. And I said, let's go and take the top business leaders that you've ever known and that you've ever admired and write them down. So he wrote down about 20 names that he's admired. I said, now, how many of them are on a fitness routine or do golfing or do some sort of physical activity? Let's go research. So we literally started going looking up their names and looking at what their physical activities and do they golf? Is there anything on Google on it? Anything like that? Out of 20 people, 14 of those people were avid sports people. So all I did is I said, so you say you want to be a great business leader. You got a 70% higher probability of doing it if you do some sort of physical activity. So let's look at what activities would probably be the ones that would help you expand your business the most. And he said, well, probably golf would probably be the biggest one, and maybe going out and doing some yachting and boating and things. And I said, all right, so let's go build your business by going on the golf course and let's go get in shape. Now, do you think if you're not great at it, you think it's going to, or do you think if you're great at those sports, you think it'll help you even further? And he says, well, if I show myself, because they say that the way you act out in your sport has a lot to do with the way you act out in your business. If you give up on things, it's going to show up in your business. So that means if you master this thing called sports activity and it helps you get engaged in business opportunities, could that help you? Anyway, once he saw the relationship to business, he was out there doing it. So you have to link fitness to some people who has a high value in other things, link it to whatever it is that's valuable to them to increase their probability of doing it. Some people just naturally have it high in their values, but not everybody does.
Wow, that's so powerful, so powerful. Just in that one answer, I'm sure that's going to change a lot of people's lives, so that's very exciting. Now, look, obviously the obesity epidemic's getting worse and worse in America, in Australia, Mexico. How much of that comes down to psychology, do you think?
Did you say epidemics?
Yeah, well, just the growth of obesity, like it's obviously getting worse and worse year after year. How much of that actually comes down to the psychology of people?
Well, my observation, if you go into a lower socioeconomic area versus a high socioeconomic area, in any city, major city, you'll find that if you go into the grocery stores or the Walmarts or the cheap places where people buy food, you'll find that the lower the education level, the more junk food, more fat, more salt, more sugar, immediate gratifying foods. I always say that anytime you're not fulfilling what's most meaningful to you, you look for immediate gratification, you look for stimulus. And addictive behavior is a byproduct of unfulfilled highest values. So people look for sugar and salt and fat and non-nutritious foods for a quick fix and a buzz instead of actually eating to live. They're living to eat instead of eating to live. And people in a higher socioeconomics that have higher education They go to Whole Foods, they go to natural food stores. They're trying to make sure that they put nutrition in their body. So without a doubt, education is a factor. And the more we educate people about how to wisely eat and how it's actually more cost effective to do so, that's a factor. But without a doubt, our psychology has a lot to do with it. If we are fulfilled and we have a mission, we are so ingrained and so engrossed in that mission that we want to make sure that we only eat what is necessary to maximize our performance of that objective. So we don't feel like overeating. Most people, if they have nothing going on the weekend, they'll pig out on the weekend, and then they'll get back in discipline on Monday because they got to go back to work. Because if they don't have something that's meaningful to them or something that's important to them, they let themselves go into oblivion. So I always say that when you have something that's inspiring to you, you'll eat wiser. And if you educate yourself on health and nutrition, you're going to eat wiser. I've never thought about obesity. It's not. I have been the same weight. I fluctuate no more than 4 pounds for 40 years. And I don't have volatilities because I'm more self-governed. But people who have a lower socioeconomic very commonly go into vacillations. So it's without a doubt it's education. Without a doubt it's what you're eating, because it's stupid to eat that kind of food. It's not food. And then third, you always have a reason. No one will continue to do something without a motive or a reason. So if somebody's gaining weight and keeping weight on, there's a reason for it. Can I share a story? I don't know if I have the time for it. I was asked to do a reality TV filming in Los Angeles, in the Hollywood area, a number of years ago. And they had me take care of like 12 people. They gave me 2 hours to change their lives, 12 people in a row for 2 hours in 2 days. And one of the ladies that I had the opportunity to work with was large, very large woman. And she was eating the entire time I was going to work with her. And she ate more in those 2 hours than I probably eat in a week. I mean, I was just astonished. I mean, just was like grazing like an animal. And I asked her, so what's the benefit you're getting out of eating? She says, I'm not getting a benefit. It's killing me. I got to stop. It's got to stop. I can't control this as she's eating. I said, no one will continue to do something unless they got a benefit. Conscious or unconscious, you got benefits out of it. So what are the benefits you're getting out of this? She says, I can't think of any. I don't know of any. I said, look again. You wouldn't be doing this if you didn't have a benefit. We first found out the first benefit. Everybody in her family is obese. If she doesn't have weight on her, she doesn't feel like she's part of the family. That was weird. That you don't hear that every day. The second one was that her sister is bigger than her and used to push her around. And she made a commitment to herself when she was about 11 years old that she would never be smaller than her sister because I didn't want to ever be pushed around by my sister, she said. The third one was the last time she went on a really strict diet and lost weight, she sagged, her skin looked bad, and she didn't like the way she looked. And so she kept her weight on because it kept her skin smooth. The next one we found out is that the last time she also went on a diet that really lost weight, and she started to have a figure, a guy hit on her. And a guy basically said, hey, I'm in love with you and all this other stuff. Well, within the first night, she's not used to having somebody hitting on her like that. She made love with him. I guess it'd been a dry spell. So she made love with this guy. And then he never showed up again, but she got pregnant. So then she was so bitter and so angry, she swore I would protect myself from men again. And she had an abortion in the process. And so she was beating herself up about this and feeling terrible about this and swore I would never, ever put myself in that situation. So she will never lose weight again, she said. And we went on and on and on. Then she said that she is basically driven for power, and she feels when she's eating she has power and she's not depressed as long as she's eating. So as we started stacking up, we stacked up 79 benefits that were unconscious until she was in tears. And then she finally realized, she says, as long as I've got these belief systems in here and these things in there, I'm not likely to ever lose weight. I said, no. I said, we've got to come up with viable alternative ways of getting these same benefits other than eating. We've got to find other ways of being part of your family without having to keep weight, which we did. We worked on and transformed some of her life. But as long as people have unconscious motives, until they bring them conscious and come up with viable alternative ways of getting those same benefits, they're likely to keep that weight on.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Truly amazing. You don't hear stuff like that very often. That's crazy. So that leads on to my next question, actually, about addiction and sugar addiction. and I find I constantly come in contact with people with this issue. So is that the answer to overcoming addiction? Is it, breaking down your limiting beliefs and looking at your values higher?
Well, anytime you set a goal that's congruent and aligned with your highest values, your fulfillment levels go up. And your need for a dopamine fix, which is the addictive behavior, and the oxytocin bonding and the serotonin fantasies and all the hedonic utilitarianism of looking for a happiness kind of thing is already fulfilled. And so anytime you're living according to your highest values, you're not likely to be as addictive in behavior. Sugar is one of the biggest addictors in the world, and they allow it to be legalized. I have not added sugar to my diet in 41 years. There's never been sugar in my diet for 41 years. If there's sugar in any food, I don't eat it usually. Occasionally, I'm stuck with some yogurt that has a little bit in it, but I don't eat sugar. To me, it's not food. I'd rather have real fruits, real vegetables, real foods than just artificial concentrated nothings. So, yeah, but if you're fulfilled in your life, you're not likely to be addictive in this behavior. You're inspired by what you're doing. Now, other people may look at you and go, God, the guy's focused on what he does. He's an addict. No, he's inspired. There's a difference. Addiction is different than inspiration. And so when a person is living by their highest values, they do. But then there are also unconscious motives. And I love watching people uncover their unconscious motives and come up with viable alternative ways of solving them, because the second they do, their sugar addictions go down. I had a lady that when she was a little girl, about a year and a half old, she was in a little high chair, and they're feeding her this malto meal mush kind of wheat thing. And her parents were fighting, and she associated that food, wheat, with fighting. So anytime she eat wheat, she get an allergic reaction. And the only way she could eat wheat is she covered up in sugar, so she would associate a pleasure with eating it. So she would tons and tons of sugar on top of the wheat, because she associated pain with the wheat and then sugar with pleasure. And so she was becoming an allergic addict to sugar. And we went in there and dissolved the emotions around the early childhood issue. And her ability to eat the wheat without allergies occurred, and her sugar dropped drastically. So there's unconscious motives in there that are there from previous experiences many times that are driving these behaviors. If you can uncover them and clear those, it's amazing. That's what I attempt to do in the breakthrough experience, doing the method, the Demartini method, to clear out that illusion that's associated, that's driving some of these behaviors.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so look, let's move from obviously health and fitness into financial success. And obviously you're a master with financial success, and you teach this all around the world. So what do you think's holding most people back, or the biggest factor holding most people back from achieving their financial goals and financial success?
Well, I ask people around the world in audiences, how many of you want to have financial independence? And they all put their hands up. And I said, how many of you are financial independent? And most people put their hands down. And I said, it's 1% of the people or less that actually obtain financial freedom and have enough money, passive investments to live the way they want. But the difference is this. Most people who have a fantasy about financial independence live with the fantasy of spending money. And only 1% actually have a dream of saving, investing it, and growing wealth. Because the majority of people are consumers and they want to spend money. I asked about 1,000 people in Melbourne, Australia one time, if you want to have financial independence. They all said yes. And I said, so what would you do if I gave you $10 million right now? And they quickly wrote down what they would do. And then I said, now, after you just wrote down what you did, how much of that is left? And it ranged between 2 and 8 million. Most people spent $2 million in less than 10 minutes, less than a minute and a half on a piece of paper. That meant that they had a higher value on spending their money than they had in saving and investing it. And the majority of people don't spend time researching and studying the math of building wealth and studying businesses and things of this nature. So it's sort of a fantasy, and they end up having this delusion it's going to happen someday, but they don't really have the calling to do it or the real values to do it. So you really have to value building wealth. And there's 6 steps to wealth that I bring to people. One, you won't find a billionaire without these 6 things. One is that they are dedicated and have a cause to building a business that serves great numbers of people. If you're not dedicated to serving people, where's the money going to come from? You have to really care about serving people. You know, you have to have work ethic. If you don't have a work ethic, you're probably going to live in a fantasy about wealth building. I have no problem working. I love working. That's why I have wealth today. But you'll find that the wealthiest people have a work ethic. The second thing is that they work on their business, not just in their business. They're looking at how to make it more effective and efficient so it can maximize profits. Third thing is that they save a portion of it, and they don't wait to see if it comes in, and if there's extra, then they'll save. They save it first, and then they draw in business to help fill that need. And then they invest it. They learn about investing, and they earn the right to risk by practicing investing and studying it, learning it, and getting specialists to assist them in the mastery of building wealth. And then they have a goal to accumulate the wealth for. It's not just random. They have a reason for it. And they also have a cause that they want to do that leaves a legacy, some philanthropic cause they want to do that's beyond their own life. So they have a big enough reason to go and build more wealth. And if they have those 6 things in place, they're on their way to having wealth. But if you don't see yourself studying it, because things that are really important to you, study. If you don't see yourself studying it, you don't see yourself going out and trying to serve people to generate it, you don't see yourself saving it, you're living in a fantasy. You're hoping some magical, gambling casino lotto is going to make you wealthy or something. I even worked with the guy that won $20 million on a lotto here in Australia. I worked with him, in the past. And he was having struggles keeping it because he didn't have the habit of saving it, investing it as much as he had spending it. And this is the key. If you have more of a desire to spend it than save it, more of a desire to consume than invest, you're probably going to keep yourself always on the edge financially. But the second you start to save and invest it and have it work for you, you become its master and not its slave.
Yeah. So true, so true. So someone at your level, Dr. Martini, who do you look up to? Who are your mentors and who's inspired you to achieve, the amazing things that you're doing today?
Well, in my teens and 20s and even into my 30s, there were many people that I admired and looked up to, and I tried to mentor under and things of this nature. And there's no harm in mentoring under people as you go along. I think there's wisdom in that. But I later learned the Demartini method, and I found out that I eventually realized that I had whatever I saw in people. A lot of times we go and get mentored, and then we find out, oh my God, I knew that already, or I already had that. I just didn't realize it. So a lot of times they're brought into our lives to help us realize what we already have. I always say there's nothing of the senses ever satisfies the soul. The soul already has everything. We just don't realize it. So today I can't say that I admire anybody. I appreciate everybody. I've been studying. I believe I'm pretty well caught up with every Nobel Prize winner that's ever been on a Nobel Prize. I study their writings, their lives, their biographies, etc. All the great philosophers, all the great mystics, the spiritual leaders, great politicians, social leaders, religious leaders. I try to study the lives of the greatest minds on earth and read their biographies and identify where in my life I have these traits and wake them up so I don't have to live in the shadows of anyone, and I can stand on the shoulders of all giants. So I don't really look at somebody I admire. I look at somebody I respect and appreciate because they're reminding me of what I already have that I may have not acknowledged. And I encourage people to do that because, as Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. The most magnificent you'll ever be is you. And I was asked by Vogue magazine not too many months back, they said, Dr. Demartini, if there could be anybody in the world you'd love to be, who would it be? And I said, it's me. I have no desire to be anybody else but me. I'm an inspired guy. I love what I'm doing. I'm grateful for my life. I'm enthusiastic working every day, and I love life. So I'm grateful for being me. I just want to learn from everybody, but respect them, not put them on pedestals.
Great. Really good advice. Really good advice. So if you could recommend one book, whether it's yours or someone else's, one book that, is a game changer or could change our lives right now, what would that book be?
Well, I'm going to say, I know I'm going to be biased when I say it, but I have a new book coming out here in about 5 weeks, with Penguin Books, called The Values Factor. And I really believe that this book can be a game changer for people because it shows you how to empower all 7 areas of your life by living and being congruent with who you really are and how to empower. And I really think it'll be a milestone. It's about a 400-page book that's coming out And I really believe that would be an important book for people to have in their library. But I've always recommended two books in addition to that. And I know this is generic because everybody's got different values and they have different goals. But this two books, if they can be found, are worth reading. And they're called Syntopicon Volume 1 and 2. Syntopicons, Syntopicon, Volumes 1 and 2, by Britannica, the people that did the Britannica Encyclopedia. These two volumes are a summary of the greatest minds over the last 2,700 years, the greatest minds, the greatest ideas, and the greatest thoughts. And it's two big volumes, about 800 pages each, on the greatest ideas, thoughts, and minds of the last 2,700 years. I would say that that's a worthy thing, because you can't put your hand into the pot of glue without some of the glue sticking. And this book has got a high richness. I believe a person who studies this book inside and out has earned their PhD.
Yeah. Awesome. Finally, we talked about this. You're in Australia, which is very exciting, and you're on your latest tour with the New Science of Achievement. What's this seminar about, and what can we expect?
Well, I just did it in Melbourne night before last. We had about 750, and last night we did it in Sydney for about 750, and I think tonight we're in Brisbane about that many. What I did is I let loose. When I get up on stage, I feel at home, so I let loose. And I shared everything I could in as inspired a way as I can to give people tools, practical methods, and ideas that can help them empower all areas of life. I really believe that we're here to do something extraordinary. And what I did is I just shared with them some highest priority gems that I found on how to maximize your intelligence and your mental capacities, your career pathway, your economics and finance, your family and relationship dynamics, your social influence, your physical vitality, and your spiritual quest. So I literally just spend 2 hours just going around each one and hitting highlights on here. If you just apply these are the things that's made a difference in my life and thousands of other people's lives. Just do them and link them, all the things I'm sharing, link it to what's highest on your values so you increase the odds of doing them, and watch what your life does. When you live by priorities, you become a priority.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Demartini. It's been a pleasure, and it's been amazing interviewing you, and I'm sure that everyone's going to get amazing value out of our discussion today, so thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And congratulations on making such a huge difference and making a difference with your heart.